So I'm Jo, and I run Eczema Clothing. My daughter Bonnie is now 18, but she had really severe eczema as a baby and a young child, and has still got really severe food allergies. So I suppose exploring other countries and cultures is something that I've always loved doing, and I'd love to pass that on to my kids. But then obviously when Bonnie had her severe sort of eczema and allergies, it made me realise how difficult some of that stuff is. Like, how do you choose where to go on holiday?
I actually did UK holidays first, just to kind of get comfortable with not being in my house. So I would definitely recommend doing like a little UK one first if you're worried. Abroad wise, my favourite destinations so far are Europe for me, just because I feel like they do have those UK brands that I know of. They have the shops that I know, but also it's not too far away on a plane. And also in terms of speaking to English to them, and kind of with the translation of discussing my allergy and eczema, I just find that sort of my comfort zone at the moment.
What we did with Bonnie actually, when she was tiny, we basically stuck to the UK. Yeah, and similarly, when we started going abroad, we basically did stick to Europe. As you say, the flight time is shorter, because actually flights dry your skin out, and they're actually not a great environment. And we'd always take, well, I'm getting on to what to pack and prepare, but anyway, where to go. Yeah, things like high pollen count if you get bad hay fever. I mean, now at least with the internet, which literally 20 years ago wasn't quite as available, you can find out things like pollen count as to where you're going, and try and avoid places with a really high pollen count.
I think this year, last year, I actually did villas as well. I forgot to mention. I did a self-catered villa, which was perfect for me, because we kind of ate in most nights. Like I've literally just went on one a few weeks ago, and I think we only went out one night for dinner, and the rest of the time I'd all cook together and just spend time in the villa.
Buffets actually were one of the things I found the most stressful, because there's so much potential for cross-contamination, and they're not very keen on making stuff, especially for you, if that's sort of part of the deal. So yeah, self-catering for us, or having a villa or apartment somewhere where you know there's like restaurants nearby, so you can go out if you want, or get a takeaway even, or whatever, but actually you can get back home and you can have just something really simple, even take a couple of things with you, you know, really basics. Because we found, for example, like going to Italy once, like all the pasta there had egg in it, and I hadn't really thought about that, because so much dry pasta here is just wheat based, and Bonnie's fine with wheat, but she's not with egg, and actually that was really challenging. So like we then started thinking, well, let's just always take a bit of pasta with us, or something that's sort of really basic that we know she likes. Bonnie's now 18, and you know, we've always tried to encourage her to be adventurous, I suppose, and to work around her allergies and eczema rather than treating it as a real restriction. And she's lucky that her eczema has really subsided a lot, so it's really her food allergies that are the big issue. But she has just come back from Southeast Asia, where she was in Vietnam and Cambodia with a sesame and peanut allergy. So, you know, she's done it and she's had an amazing time. And I'll come on to, you know, maybe the next bit in our sort of chat was going to be around what to pack and prepare in advance. And I'm a big believer that if you plan and prepare in advance, you're just going to have a happier time and a safer time. And it means you can push those boundaries a bit more and probably go to places that you might have thought were out of reach. So when she first told me she wanted to go to Southeast Asia, I was like, okay, that's sort of quite stressful. But actually, you know, she just planned and prepared in advance. And one of the best things she got in advance that we've done before on holiday, in Europe particularly, is to get something like these translation cards. So Allergy UK, if you go onto their website, if you've got any allergies of any kind, you can buy these little plastic cards. It's a set of 3 cards. And on the one side they have English, the other side they have whatever language is relevant. So for example, we got them in Thai and, you know, Vietnamese, and Cambodian, because she was there. And so obviously we couldn't understand what it said, but on the other side of the card, you knew that the card you were handing over to the restaurant basically said, I have these allergies for egg, dairy, sesame nuts. If I eat one of these things, you know, I could die. Please, can you tell me what's available on the menu? And it was just, she said it was just so reassuring that she could hand that to someone, they could take it to the kitchen. They were all really, really nice, really sweet, really lovely people. They didn't speak English in most cases, but they took it really seriously and they were really helpful.
You can also get them electronically as well. so you can have them on your phone if you don't want to sort of take
Yes.
anything else with you. And also good to send to people you're with in case you forget it or, you know, something happens. And having allergies, I never realised that EpiPens had to be kept at a certain temperature. I guess naivety. Until recently, and on Amazon they do these sort of cases which keep your EpiPens at the correct temperature. Because when they get hot, it can affect the adrenaline, which I never knew. So that was like a massive thing that I purchased last year. That's so good. Like, it's sort of a pencil case shape, so really easy to just chuck in your hand luggage. But it can just make sure that your EpiPens are kept at the correct temperature the whole time. So the other thing that it's really simple is an eczema t-shirt. So I literally get 100% cotton t-shirts, bring with me. And when I'm putting all my creams on after I've been in the pool and everything, you can just soak all your creams in, put the top on and just relax.
Take, you know, a few pairs of pajamas, so that actually even like after the pool, you know, she could just have a shower, put on some cream, sit in her pajamas, you know, in a sort of cool room for an hour, and just let her skin calm down. Or as you say, you know, just have a long sleeve cotton top and cotton, you know, PJ bottoms or something that's loose, or you know, joggers that you can just put on, and you know, you can wash them at a relatively high temperature afterwards, so to get the creams out. You don't really want to get it all over your clothes. We'd always take a 1 or 2 cotton pillowcases. So a pillow, you know, because actually you don't really know what the bed linen that you're sleeping on, what it's been washed in, and we found washing powders were a really big trigger. Letting people know, you talked about sort of communicating, letting people know in advance, you know, if you are staying in a hotel or somewhere where there's, you know, some catering, just letting them know in advance.
And I think it's being open with people, like if there is a group of people that want to go to the beach and you don't feel like going because it like flares you, or you don't feel comfortable, you don't like the sand, because sand and eczema can be really painful. It's just being honest, maybe saying, okay, do some people want to do this instead, and people want to go to the beach, or if you are,
you know, always take some snacks, or always take some, you know, and lots of water, because definitely eating on aeroplanes was a big challenge, and so we'd always take our own food on aeroplanes. And I think you're right in terms of going to places. If you do end up in a situation where you have a flare up and you're away from your room, then having some fresh water at hand, whether it's a shower that's actually there, or even having just taken a couple of bottles of fresh water in your bag, so you know that you can like wash your face or your hands or the patches that are like particularly bad with some fresh water, the costumes and stuff. But actually having a big hat or a hat of some kind, I think like makes a lot of sense if and there are some really pretty ones around, but also having some like just a loose big cotton shirt, something that actually does cover you up, but you know, it might still be slightly see-through, or it might still be, you know, which won't necessarily protect you quite as much from the sun, but it does create a layer between you and the sort of UV rays. So having, I would say, some loose cotton clothes that, you know, will still keep you relatively cool, but will protect your skin from direct sunlight, and wearing a hat, or having a couple of hats would be my, I suppose, top tips on staying cool but in the sun. What do you think?
I mean, I tend to try and avoid that really hot 12 to 1 2 time by either going in to make sure I have some lunch, or because it can be just like really, really, you know, aggravating. But if you're in a position where you can't, I definitely agree. Hat, lots of water, and like handheld fans really help as well, just to keep you cool even in the sun. And I think some places you can rent umbrellas and stuff on the beach that can really help as well. So just anything like that would work.